right, having some fun in spooky season because I love Star Trek The Next Generation. You know I love Star Trek The Next Generation. So this is the perfect time for me to list off my top 5 creepiest or otherwise scariest episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. But first, sponsorship! I do have a fun sponsorship for you today. This video is brought to you by Paradox, talking about the game Star Trek Infinite. That's right, because what's better than Trek? More Trek! Star Trek Infinite is a strategy game you can play as the Federation, Klingon Empire, Romulan Empire, or Cardassian Union. Chart, explore, colonize planets, expand your borders, create faction between you and the other civilizations. It very much is like the game's Civilization and Star Trek went splat. I love both, so you put them together, that's a perfect sponsorship for me. You don't have to play within the box of what you think you should play as when you play as one faction or another. You can be a warmongering Federation leader. You can be a peacekeeping Cardassian leader who takes "there are 4 lights" as an acceptable answer. And I did get a notification that a vessel was attacked by a structure at Wolf 359. It could be every bit as horrifically sweat-inducing as it sounds. I don't know. I haven't gone there yet. I will after this video. But if you're looking for a fun, immersive Trek experience that will have you saying, just one more turn until about 4 a.m., click the link below and lose yourself for hours. All right, getting to the list, a couple things to know. This isn't a top 5. Well, it's a top 5, but they're not in order of preferred to least preferred or vice versa. They're not in any real order of preference. I put them in order of, it's kind of like making a mixtape. Or a playlist, if you prefer. Did I just age myself with the term mixtape? Whatever, get your Walkman, boombox, or otherwise tape player together and let's go down this rabbit hole of the top 5 scariest Star Trek The Next Generation episodes for me. Starting out this list, Season 4, Episode 17, the episode known as Night Terrors. The crew of the Enterprise runs across this ghost ship and it looks like the crew just went mad. Then they themselves start getting agitated, irritable. They start hallucinating, seeing things, hearing things that aren't there. This is the episode that actually taught me the importance of sleep and dreaming and how if you don't do that, you'll just go nuts. Counselor Troy floating through green screen dream sequences aside, this episode has some pretty solid psychological horror moments. This is a great episode showing a crew's descent into insanity due to a lack of what we all require every night: sleep and dreams, which makes it relatable, effective, and scary. Next up, we have Season 4, Episode 18, Identity Crisis. That was a 1-2 punch. Episodes 17 and 18, both on this list. Didn't know it when I picked them, but when I picked them, it all started to come into focus. 2 back-to-back episodes of Trek in my formative years that led to probably more therapy than I otherwise would have required. Now, Identity Crisis, I've actually mentioned in other videos. Geordi LaForge is changing into another life form. That would be creepy enough, but it's not what creeps me out with this episode. The real creep factor comes from Geordi looking over old footage of a mission he was on. He notices a shadow that doesn't belong to anyone in the frame. He goes to the holodeck, he has the computer just eliminate the people, and lo and behold, there's this rogue shadow. He says, all right, computer, if the shadow belongs to someone of my height and general dimensions, where would this person or thing be? The computer just plops it right in front of him. There was just someone there amidst everybody, and no one knew it because the being was invisible. That haunted me as a child, continues to haunt me to this day. The concept of someone being there without you knowing just scares the living shit out of me. I don't like the feeling. I mean, I kind of like it, but I don't like it. I love to be scared by it, and that attachment comes from this episode. Any shape seen in the shadows, anytime you've looked into the woods while camping and feel like you're being watched, to me it's this episode. Even Blair Witch Project threw me back to this episode of Trek. It's the concept of a ghost watching you in your house without you knowing, but something more tangible in the physical world because it's a humanoid life form. Holding to the tradition of bone-chilling holodeck reveals, we have Season 6, Episode 5, the episode Schisms. This is another episode where the crew of the Enterprise is like, oh, I'm not getting a lot of sleep, I'm kind of dragging ass, I'm irritable. Only with the fear of the 90s, that fear being alien abductions. Before that reveal actually happens though, it's epic setup. Whether it's moments where Riker goes to his quarters, the camera stays on him, he lays down to go to sleep, Geordi comes to his quarters like, hey, you ready to work? He's like, what are you talking about? I just went to bed. And Geordi's like, it's 0700 hours. Dude lost an entire night and we were there with him the entire time. How is that possible? Worf getting sketched out over a pair of scissors. Again, with the psychological horror, like most of these episodes are essentially psychological thrillers, but to me, that's scarier. That's what makes something scary, and that's peak scary Trek. And that scene where a few of them are in the holodeck like, all right, well, let's start with a table. I remember a table, and they slowly start to form this thing that looks like an operating table with the ambient clicking sound of aliens, spotlight on the table, but the background's really dark, and Geordi's like, I've been in this room before, and Riker's like, we've all been here before. And this time around, even Data wasn't impervious. Usually in episodes like this, it's like, okay, well, what's Data think? Because he doesn't sleep, he's not losing time. But he was losing time. His internal chronometer was off. No one was safe. Cherry on top is when Beverly Crusher looks at Riker's hand and she's like, your arm has been severed and then reattached. It's off by like 0.6 microns or something like that. Someone surgically removed your arm and put it back on. Probably when the audience was watching you almost sleep and then I guess a whole night just disappeared. In this case, the intriguing scientific hook is the power of the subconscious and its ability to remember even if you consciously don't. This next episode, man, I really wanted this episode, but I also wanted the episode called Where Silence Has Least. Sorry, Nagilum, otherwise known as Creepy Floating Fetus Face, you got bumped. But you got bumped for frame of mind. That would be season 6, episode 21, because what is a list like this without the Asylum episode? Commander Riker starring in a play. We all love that about Trek. There's always those fun recreational moments, and this one takes it and it's like, yeah, but what if Riker starts losing his mind and going nuts? The play takes place in an asylum, and then Riker is in the actual asylum that looks like the play. And then he bounces back and forth between the Enterprise and the asylum that looks like the play. One of the things I like about this episode, just in terms of filmmaking, is that Trek famous line that Riker delivers in the play, which is, I may be surrounded by insanity, but I'm not insane. Seeing him deliver that same line multiple times throughout the episode as he is going mad and seeing the inflection change. This episode did a miraculous thing, especially it being season 6 by the time it aired. We know that Riker's first officer of the Starship Enterprise and something else is going on, but this does plant the seed of doubt of, but what if? Again, with the psychological thriller episodes being among the best in Trek, when I made my 5 of my favorite episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation video, Frame of Mind was on the list, but I really wanted cause and effect on that list. It broke my heart to remove it. So if we're talking creepiest Trek episodes, I'm including it here. And finishing off this list of 5 scary Next Generation episodes, that would be Season 7, Episode 19, Genesis, which is actually directed by Gates McFadden, who plays Dr. Beverly Crusher in the show. Little tidbit. The crew start acting a bit strange, you know something's up. And then Captain Picard and Data return to the Enterprise via shuttlecraft. The Enterprise was just kind of adrift. They get on the Enterprise and it's clear this is the survival horror episode of Next Generation. The place looks like a war zone, it's completely unkept, the lights are all flickering and blinking. Data finds out that all these dormant latent genes that we all have after eons of evolution, they're all being reactivated among the crew, and the crew is de-evolving. But for the life of me, with the concept of the crew is de-evolving, I cannot reconcile, oh, and Barclay became a spider. Maybe it's because I'm not a biologist, maybe it's because entertainment writers are also not biologists, but I've done the mental gymnastics and I come to the conclusion of, well, you know, entertainment. But the episode hits peak alien when they're being pursued by de-evolved Worf that looks like Predator. Well, kind of. You don't really get a good look at him. Maybe it's because of budget or makeup. It's best to keep him in the shadows, but it worked better. You have enough to know that Worf has become this really aggressive, pissed off, apex predator thing. And that's all you need to know, is that Worf's gonna wipe him out without knowing it, because he's not consciously Worf anymore. That's actually what freaked me out most, is when Crusher, before it all really goes down, we're still in the setup phase, Dr. Crusher's like, what are those sacs on your cheek, Worf? Open your mouth. Worf spits acid like Reptile from Mortal Kombat. Point is, this is the episode that caused biologists to beat their heads against the wall, but in terms of tone, is a great survival horror episode of Trek, and it's one of my favorites. I gotta give special props to Jonathan Frakes for flipping the bird on 90s primetime television and not getting caught. Epic move from a legend right there. So that's it. That's my list of my top 5 scariest or creepiest episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. I know videos like this comparatively don't get a lot of views for my channel, but hey, I make this for my fellow Trek fans out there, my fellow Trekkies, and gives you a better look into my soul. But seriously, I do appreciate you seeing this video on your timeline. You're like, that's weird. I'm in. Let's watch it. Love you for that. I know there are episodes that you wanted to see on this list that I don't have on this list. That's where comment sections come in. Conspiracy almost made the list. That was on the short list too. That's a good one. What are 5 of the creepiest or otherwise scariest episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation for you? Whatever they are, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.